In the vast emptiness of deep space, humanity's greatest warship drifted silently among the stars, a sleeping giant written off as ancient history. The stellar Valiant, once Earth's proudest achievement in military engineering, now lay dormant like a forgotten memorial to mankind's former glory. Its massive hull, stretching nearly 2 kilometers in length, had collected cosmic dust for over 3 centuries. The alien archaeological team from the Centauri Commonwealth circled the derelict vessel with barely concealed amusement. Their sleek survey ships, with their crystalline designs and quantum drives, made Earth's mightiest warship look like a crude relic from a primitive age. Lead researcher Zixtal couldn't contain his chirping laughter as he recorded his observations. "Observe, colleagues," he transmitted across their neural network, the quaint attempts at space warfare by these extinct humans. Primitive chemical propulsion, basic kinetic weapons, and what appears to be early fusion technology. Hardly worth cataloging, except perhaps as a curiosity for our Museum of Lesser Species. What the aliens didn't notice was the slight power fluctuation deep within the vessel's core. In a sealed chamber at the heart of the ship, Chief Engineer Sarah Chen's cryopod quietly maintained its vigil, waiting for the right moment. She wasn't alone. Throughout the massive ship, 200 of Earth's finest remained in suspended animation, a secret contingency plan set in motion when the Sol system fell. The alien researchers breached the outer hull with casual disregard, their advanced cutting tools slicing through 3 meters of titanium alloy armor like butter. As they floated through the darkened corridors, their bioluminescent bodies cast an eerie blue glow across walls that still bore the proud insignia of the United Earth Fleet. Such inefficient use of space, another researcher noted, probing the crew quarters with scanning equipment. These humans actually required physical rest areas. How primitively biological. But as they approached the central command bridge, something changed. Hidden quantum sensors, designed to appear inactive to even the most advanced scans, silently tracked their movement. Deep in the ship's artificial intelligence core, dormant circuits began to warm. The aliens' arrogant chatter continued, unaware that every word was being processed and analyzed. "Let's salvage what we can for research," Zixtal commanded. "The reactor core might have some historical value, though I doubt we'll learn anything new. Prepare tow." The deck beneath them vibrated. At first, it was barely noticeable, just a subtle tremor that could have been dismissed as settling metal. Then it grew stronger. Throughout the ship, emergency lights suddenly flared to life, bathing the corridors in pulsing red. Blast doors slammed shut with thunderous force, isolating the alien research team. "What's happening?" one of them demanded, their previous confidence evaporating as the mighty warship awakened around them. The vessel's speakers crackled to life, and a human voice, cool and composed, filled every chamber. "This is Chief Engineer Chen to all stations. Cryo-revival sequence complete. Advanced hostile entities detected aboard. Initiating Protocol Lazarus." The aliens watched in growing horror as displays and control panels blazed to life across the bridge. The massive fusion reactor, far more advanced than they had assumed, roared awake with enough power to rival a small sun. Weapon systems they hadn't even detected began charging, and the hull plates they had dismissed as primitive began shifting and reconstructing themselves. As the stellar Valiant shrugged off 3 centuries of slumber, its AI core delivered a message that made the alien researchers realize how catastrophically they had underestimated humanity. "All hands, battle stations. The war isn't over yet." Chief Engineer Sarah Chen's muscles screamed in protest as she pulled herself from the cryopod, decades of suspended animation making every movement a challenge. The revival drugs coursed through her system, burning away the fog of long sleep. Around her, other pods hissed open as her fellow crew members began to stir. They had all known this day might come, but the reality of it still felt surreal. Through the ship's internal cameras, she watched the alien research team frantically trying to breach the sealed blast doors. Their advanced tools, which had so easily cut through the outer hull, now sparked uselessly against the inner barriers. What they couldn't know was that the stellar Valiant's true armor lay beneath its deceptive exterior, layers of smart metal and quantum-locked alloys that had been decades ahead of their time. Status report. Chen commanded, her voice growing stronger as muscle memory took over. The ship's AI responded immediately, its familiar voice a comfort in the chaos. All critical systems operational. Chief. Reactor output at 60% and climbing. 212 hostile entities detected aboard, concentrated in sections 3 through 7. The rest of their fleet maintains position at minimum safe distance. They appear to be confused by our awakening. Lieutenant James Walker, the ship's tactical officer, stumbled to his station, wiping frost from his beard. Weapons? He asked, fingers dancing across holographic controls that sprang to life at his touch. Main gun requires another 30 minutes to charge, the AI reported. Point defense grid online. Hull integrity at 97% despite their intrusion attempts. Engineering teams report the Lazarus protocol proceeded exactly as designed. Chen allowed herself a grim smile. The aliens had assumed they were studying a relic, but the stellar Valiant had been humanity's ultimate insurance policy. When the Sol system fell to the first wave of alien attacks, Earth's leaders had known they needed a contingency plan. The ship and its crew were placed in hibernation, hidden in the depths of space, waiting for the moment they would be needed most. Through the command deck's windows, Chen could see the alien survey ships maintaining their distance, their crystalline hulls shimmering like jewels against the backdrop of stars. Beautiful, but she knew their elegant appearance masked devastating weapons, the same weapons that had turned Earth's cities to ash. "They're ailing us," Communications Officer David Harper announced, his dark eyes fixed on the incoming transmission. "Their language patterns match what we have on record from the fall of Earth. They're demanding our immediate surrender." Chen exchanged looks with her bridge crew. They had all lost everything, families, homes, their entire world, to these invaders. But revenge wasn't their mission. They had trained for something far more important. "Play the transmission," she ordered, straightening her uniform. The holographic display flickered to life, showing Zixtal's alien features twisted in what might have been concern or anger. It was still hard to read their expressions even after all their studies. "Primitive vessel," the alien researcher began, his translated words dripping with forced diplomacy. "Your awakening is unexpected, but futile. The war ended centuries ago. Your species is gone. Your world's reformed. Submit to study, and we will ensure your preservation in our archives." Chen's hand tightened on the command rail as the ship's reactor continued to build power. In the sealed sections below, the alien research team was about to discover exactly why the stellar Valiant had been worth preserving. But first, these arrogant invaders needed to learn that humanity was far from extinct. "This is Chief Engineer Chen of the UES Stellar Valiant," she responded, her voice steady. "And you're wrong about two things. First, the war never ended. And second," she nodded to Walker, who activated a specific sequence, "we're not as primitive as you think." Throughout the massive warship, hidden compartments began to open, revealing technology that had been carefully concealed for centuries. The outer hull, which the aliens had dismissed as primitive armor, rippled like liquid metal as nanobots awakened from their long dormancy. Every cut and breach the research team had made sealed itself, trapping them deeper inside the vessel. "Quantum core stabilized," Walker announced, his fingers flying across the tactical display. "Smart metal armor fully engaged. They're trying to scan us, but all they're getting is what we want them to see." The alien survey ships had begun to move into attack formations, their crystalline hulls glowing with building energy. Chen watched through internal cameras as the trapped research team made a fascinating discovery. The primitive corridors they had been exploring were actually changing around them, revealing themselves to be part of an advanced defense system. Some of the aliens found themselves sealed in observation chambers, exactly where the humans wanted them. "They're powering up weapons," Harper warned, monitoring the enemy fleet. 5 capital ships moving to surround us. Energy signatures suggest they're bringing their main guns online. The tension on the bridge ratcheted higher as the enemy vessels took position, their elegant forms now looking distinctly predatory. Zixtal's voice crackled through the com-system again, but this time the diplomatic facade had cracked. "What is this deception? Our scans showed no signs of such technology. You will explain how, like you explained before destroying Earth. Chen cut him off, her voice cold. Your kind always underestimate us. That's exactly what we counted on. She nodded to Walker. Show them what a primitive human ship can do. The stellar Valiant's outer hull began to transform. Layers of smart metal flowed like quicksilver, revealing weapon ports that had been microscopic moments before. The ship's design was shifting, adapting, becoming something the alien fleet had never encountered. Their scans, so confident before, now showed confused readings as human technology 3 centuries ahead of its time came fully online. "Ma'am," Walker reported, excitement breaking through his professional tone, "the package is ready." Deep in the ship's core, something powerful was stirring. The reactor wasn't just powering up, it was feeding energy into systems that defied the aliens' understanding of physics itself. The enemy fleet opened fire first, their energy weapons lancing out across space, but the beams passed right through the stellar Valiant, their targeting systems confused by quantum deflection fields that shouldn't have existed in this era of human technology. Chen allowed herself a small smile as she watched their growing confusion. "All hands," she announced ship-wide, "prepare for temporal displacement. Initiate Protocol Pegasus." The trapped research team was about to learn why humans had apparently vanished from the galaxy. It wasn't because they had been wiped out. They had simply been preparing, waiting for precisely this moment. As the alien fleet launched another barrage, the stellar Valiant's true purpose began to reveal itself. The ship wasn't just a warship. It was humanity's greatest achievement, carrying within it the power to rewrite the course of the war itself. And as the quantum core reached full power, even the arrogant Zixtal began to realize that everything his people thought they knew about human capabilities had been carefully crafted misdirection. "Target locked," Walker announced, his voice steady despite the enemy fire flashing around them. "Temporal coordinates confirmed. Waiting for your command, Chief." Chen gripped her station as the ship's power built to levels that made the alien sensors scream in protest. Everything they had planned for, everything they had sacrificed, had led to this moment. The stellar Valiant shuddered as its quantum core reached critical levels, reality itself seeming to bend around the massive ship. But just as Chen was about to give the final command, the ship's AI cut in with an urgent alert. "Chief, detecting multiple temporal signatures. We're not alone." Space rippled around them, and 5 more ships phased into existence, warships bearing the insignia of the United Earth Fleet. But these weren't reinforcements. Chen's blood ran cold as she recognized the configurations. They were looking at copies of the stellar Valiant itself, each one slightly different, each one bearing the marks of battles from different timelines. "Impossible," Walker breathed, his tactical display lighting up with readings. "They're us, different versions of us, from different attempts." The implications hit the bridge crew like a physical blow. They weren't the first to try this mission. They weren't even the first stellar Valiant to reach this moment. A new voice crackled over the com system. Chen's own voice, but harder, more weathered. "This is Chief Engineer Chen of Timeline Beta. Do not initiate Protocol Pegasus. I repeat, do not initiate. We tried this 47 times. It always ends the same way." The alien fleet had frozen in confusion, their weapons powered but holding fire as they tried to comprehend the impossible scene unfolding before them. Even Zixtal seemed struck speechless by this development. "The time jump creates a paradox," the other Chen continued. "Each time we tried to prevent the fall of Earth, we split the timeline. Each version of us thinks they'll be the one to succeed, but there's something we didn't understand about the aliens' true nature." As if on cue, the trapped research team below began to change. The ship's internal cameras showed their crystalline bodies shifting, revealing a horrifying truth. They weren't just advanced aliens, they were humanity's own creation, evolved through countless temporal loops into something unrecognizable. "We created them," the alternate Chen explained, her voice heavy with the weight of multiple failures. "Every time we tried to prevent Earth's fall, we end up causing it. The Centauri Commonwealth isn't our enemy. They're our future, twisted by our own attempts to change the past." Walker's tactical display suddenly blazed with new warnings. The quantum core was destabilizing, the temporal energies threatening to tear the ship apart. But Chen noticed something nobody else had yet, a pattern in the chaos, a rhythm to the temporal distortions that felt almost deliberate. "You're wrong," Chen replied to her alternate self, her mind racing. "We're not seeing our failures. We're seeing the steps." She turned to her crew, determination burning in her eyes. Every version of us, every attempt, was leading to this exact moment. We weren't failing. We were building something across time itself. The trapped research team was changing again, but not in the way the other Chens had seen before. The ship's quantum field was affecting them differently, reversing their evolution, showing glimpses of the human beings they had once been. And in that moment, Chen understood the true purpose of Protocol Pegasus. "All Valiants, hold position," she commanded, her voice carrying across timelines. "We're not here to prevent the fall of Earth. We're here to bridge the gap between what humanity was and what we become. Walker, recalibrate the temporal drive. Target all timelines simultaneously." The alien fleet, realizing something unprecedented was happening, began to move. But they weren't attacking. They were forming a perfect circle around the 6 stellar Valiants, their crystalline hulls resonating with the same temporal energy. They weren't trying to stop what was happening. They were completing the circuit. The 6 stellar Valiants moved in perfect synchronization, their quantum cores pulsing with energy that transcended time itself. The trapped research team, now flickering between their crystalline forms and human appearances, began transmitting data that no one had expected. They weren't just evolved humans. They were the solution to a puzzle scattered across multiple timelines. "All ships, synchronize temporal fields," Chen ordered, her voice steady despite the reality-bending energies surging around them. Each failure wasn't a failure at all. We were creating anchor points across time, building a bridge between what we were and what we need to become. The alien fleet's crystalline hulls began to resonate with the same frequency as the human ships, creating a perfect harmonic loop. Zixtal's voice came through again, but this time it carried traces of human inflection. "We remember now. We remember everything." The loop, it wasn't about changing the past. It was about guiding the future. Walker's tactical display showed something extraordinary. The quantum energies weren't just connecting the ships. They were connecting every version of humanity across time. Each attempt to save Earth had added another layer to a grand design that no single timeline could have achieved alone. The fall of Earth, Chen realized, watching the patterns emerge, it was inevitable, but not because we failed, because it was the catalyst humanity needed to transcend its own limitations. The ship's AI confirmed her theory, showing how each temporal jump had added crucial data to an evolutionary algorithm 3 centuries in the making. The research team's transformation stabilized, revealing them as neither fully human nor fully crystalline, but something in between, a perfect synthesis of organic life and advanced technology. They were the bridge between past and future, the missing link that would ensure humanity's survival across the cosmos. "All ships, prepare for final sequence," Chen commanded. The other Valiants acknowledged, their crews now understanding their true purpose. They weren't here to change history. They were here to complete it. As the quantum cores reached their peak, the combined fleet began to pulse with blinding energy. The fabric of space-time itself seemed to hold its breath as centuries of careful planning came to fruition. But just as success seemed certain, Walker spotted something alarming. "Chief, temporal shockwave approaching. If it hits us now," he didn't need to finish. The delicate temporal matrix they'd created would shatter, undoing everything they'd worked for. Chen had seconds to make a decision that would affect every timeline. With perfect clarity, she understood what needed to be done. "All Valiants, divert power to the primary ship. We'll serve as anchor points. This timeline must survive." The other Chens understood immediately, their ships moving to form a protective circle around the original Valiant. The shockwave hit with devastating force. One by one, the alternate Valiants began to fade from existence, their sacrifice stabilizing the temporal field around the primary ship. But as they vanished, they transferred not just their power, but the sum of their experiences. Every lesson learned, every discovery made across 47 timelines. In the end, Only one stellar Valiant remained, its hull now transformed into a perfect fusion of human engineering and crystalline technology. The trapped research team emerged onto the bridge, no longer aliens or humans, but guardians of a legacy 3 centuries in the making. Chen looked at her displays, now showing a completely new timeline, one where humanity's evolution wouldn't be marked by conflict and loss, but by guided transformation. The fall of Earth hadn't been their end. It had been their chrysalis. Forward temporal projection stabilized, the AI announced. New timeline secured. Chen exchanged looks with her crew, both human and hybrid, seeing in their eyes the same understanding. They hadn't saved Earth's past. They'd saved humanity's future. The stellar Valiant's engines hummed to life, no longer bound by the limitations of conventional space-time. As they prepared to journey into this new future, Zixtal, now more guide than adversary, shared one final insight. You humans never stopped laughing at the impossible. That's why you succeeded where pure logic would have failed. The transformed stellar Valiant glided through space, its hybrid crew working in perfect harmony as they charted their course through the new timeline. Chen stood at the observation deck, watching stars streak by through the crystalline enhanced viewport. The ship no longer needed to hide its true nature. Its hull shimmered with the perfect fusion of human ingenuity and evolved technology. Navigation confirms we've achieved temporal stability, Walker reported, his partly crystalline features catching the starlight. The changes are propagating naturally through the timeline. Earth's fall still happens, but now it serves as a stepping stone rather than an ending. He paused, checking the long-range sensors. First colonies are already adapting to the new evolutionary path. It's working exactly as we hoped. The ship's corridors, once stark and military, now pulsed with living light. Former barriers between sections had become permeable membranes, allowing the crew to move through the ship as naturally as thoughts through a neural network. What the aliens had once mocked as primitive design now revealed itself as the seed of something far greater. Harper, monitoring communications from his transformed station, smiled as reports flooded in from across the galaxy. Other ships are beginning to undergo the same transformation. The knowledge is spreading naturally, just as it should. No forced evolution, no conquest, just humanity following its true path. The research team that had once been their prisoners now served as teachers, helping both sides understand the delicate balance they'd achieved. Their formerly pure crystalline forms had softened, incorporating aspects of human biology that they'd forgotten over countless generations of evolution. "We've received transmission from Earth's past," Harper announced, his voice thick with emotion. They understand now. The evacuation protocols, the hidden bunkers, they're not just about survival. They're incubation chambers for the next stage of human development. Chen felt a weight lift from her shoulders as she read the temporal data. The fall of Earth would still be recorded as humanity's darkest hour, but now it carried the seeds of their greatest triumph. The message they'd sent back through time had reached those who needed to hear it. This isn't the end. It's our chrysalis. The stellar Valiant's AI, now a true fusion of digital and organic consciousness, displayed holographic projections of humanity's new future. Cities would fall, but they would rise again as living metropolises. The harsh void of space would fill with structures that breathed and grew. Humanity wouldn't just survive. It would flourish in ways their ancestors could never have imagined. Setting course for the Centauri colonies, Chen announced, watching her crew, both human and hybrid, work together seamlessly. "We need to ensure the transformation proceeds smoothly across all human settlements." She turned to Zixtal, who now served as their cultural advisor. "Ready to meet your past selves." The former alien researcher nodded, understanding the irony. "They will laugh at us too, at first. But that's how it should be. Humor in the face of the impossible. It's what makes humans unique. It's what makes this work." As the stellar Valiant prepared for its next jump, Chen took one last look at the sensor readings from Earth. The planet would heal, would transform, would become something new, just like its children scattered across the stars. They hadn't prevented their homeworld's fall, but they'd given it purpose. They'd turned an ending into a beginning. "All stations, prepare for temporal jump," she ordered, feeling the ship hum with evolved energy around her. The crew, no longer divided by time, species, or form, responded as one. They had worlds to visit, civilizations to guide, and a future to shape. And somewhere out there, another version of the stellar Valiant was being discovered, waiting to laugh at impossible odds and transform them into destiny. The stars blurred as they jumped, carrying humanity's legacy forward into a future that was no longer written in stone, but in the endless possibility of evolution itself.